correct name for a pollen grade?
Microhumidified.
Y'all better know that, microhumidified. What's the dominant generation for cycads?
Sporophyte.
What's ginkgo? Monoecious or dioecious?
Dioecious.
What does dioecious mean?
Two houses.
Two houses. The female stank, right?
Mhm.
That obvious. She does. Nobody wants that. Poor thing. Are pines monoecious or dioecious?
Monoecious.
What does that mean?
Same house.
So where are their pine cones? On separate plants?
Nope.
Same. See, try to trick y'all. Y'all good. What's the correct name for a male pine cone? What about the
Microstrobilus.
lady? There you go. That's the end of that. Ah, I'm in the dark. Okay, there. All right. So now, again, if you want to leave, you can. What I'll do, I don't have a piece. I do have a piece of paper. That way you still get credit for being here. If you want to leave, come and sign up. I don't care. Like, you're not getting extra points if you stay or not. I do care, because I want y'all to do well. But if you don't want to stay, I completely understand, and you don't have to. But I'm gonna do the review, and afterwards we'll make sure everybody gets it signed, because I want y'all to have credit for being here. So I'll start it around. So here's some things, I'm gonna try to go in order. Sorry, some things for your exam. So, first of all, I would know, if you want to drop this down, you can. What are gemma, or gemme? Sounds like you're saying genne. Do y'all remember what those are?
Asexual reproduction or microhumidified.
Yep. Remember that? The gemma cups or gemma cups, you can call it either one. So gemme, G-E-M-M-A-E, is basically the little cups they're used for asexual reproduction. I got all kind of stuff for y'all. So y'all glad answers for the practical for that. Yes, for asexual reproduction in the liverworts. All right, so know that and what their function is. Know what are elaters? Know what they are, y'all remember? The little coiled up. Yeah, they help propel out spores in some of your seedless vascular plants. So they were inside, y'all remember the little party streamers? That's what they are. So they're helping to shove out and push out those, not pollen, good Lord, I go back to the seedless vascular plants. Pushing out spores, there you go. To help pop them to get all over the place, so propel the spores. Know what are some of the evolutionary advancements made by the SVPs, which are seedless vascular plants. It's just an easier way to write out instead of writing seedless vascular plants, you can write SVP. So what are some things that, in order to advance evolutionarily wise, that you went from being these little mosses, these bryophytes, to now you're seedless vascular plants?
Vascular tissue.
Yes. Ditto. Yes. First, yeah, having vascular tissue, that's huge, because now you can literally get bigger, right? And this is, we listed all of these in one of these along the way. What happened to your gametophyte generation?
It got smaller.
It's getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, so that's an evolutionary advantage for them as well. They also did all kind of different things, everything from developing the dermal tissue, the outside tissue for protection, so it's just more protection, getting in more water with our vascular tissue. What else did they develop to bring in water? Roots, right? That's a big thing. Before with the bryophytes, we see like rhizoids, we see root-like structures to try to keep them in place so they don't just wash away, but we didn't have true roots, we didn't have a vascular tissue. So now we have true roots. All right, so what's the difference between megaphils versus microphils? And this one has to do with vascular tissue.
The
It's not a male
microphil
female.
has one singular vascular vein.
Yeah.
What do you call it?
And the other has multiple.
And the other is like
Can't think of it at the
branch.
same time. Did it go? I didn't figure it out. So yeah, so the microphil, when y'all, there's a picture showing you where it just goes like this. So evolutionarily wise, yeah, we had, just one little vein, and then this one would continue and go up. So when you have one leaf or leaf-like structure, because that still doesn't look beautiful like a normal leaf when you think of a leaf, but it could be just a small projection that's coming out. It has one vein, so it's gonna be your microphil versus a megaphil. Started to look, it's got multiple veins, but it also started to develop a little bit of webbing. So that webbing that was around those vascular tissue, and there's a picture, y'all look at, it shows these, both of these. That's what is kind of the precursor to the pretty leaves that we're familiar with today. So this is just starting out. I mean, we just barely have webbing, a little bit of tissue. And that's the difference between the two. We use it a lot early on to talk about some, because some of these really primitive plants, they just have the microfills. They just have this barely vascular tissue.
So at the time with those primitive plants, would those have been like, would the link, like them growing out would have been the primary growth, and then when they filled in the space, would that be secondary growth for them, like when they were younger?
Depends on which one you're talking about, because some species don't have the ability to do secondary growth, because that's considered wood and having secondary xylem float. So this would be so primitive that most of those, at the time, we wouldn't have secondary growth yet.
Okay.
By the time we have that, our leaves are, they're looking like leaves. You can tell they're leaves. Also, what are sporophylls? Speaking of microphylls and megaphylls, we can go back to what are sporophylls. Leaf. Specialized, I'm just calling leaf. Specialized leaf that has what? If I didn't have this word here.
Sporangium.
It has a sporangium at its base, right? That's what it is. And then we can get more specific if we need to. All right, so know which groups have a dominant gametophyte versus the sporophyte generation. You have that chart I gave you, which Lord knows where I've got one. That will help out. That would be a little cheat sheet. You know what I'm talking about? Had the two, and it has everything with there it is. So if you have this, the Kingdom Plantae, this is your big cheat sheet. Definitely go over this so you can go through and say, all right, who is gametophyte dominant? Oh, duh, it's just this one. It's just these three phyla of the bryophytes, and that way you can see, all right, everybody else is sporophyte generation. So that's a good little study guide right there. So know who's what. That should be easy. All right, what else do I have on here? What's the difference between homosporous versus heterosporous? What is the difference?
One contains both microsporangium and megasporangium, and then the other contains just one.
So, yes. So in a way, we have homosporous. Oh, where's it going? What does homo mean? Same. So it's just, they're called spores. They're just spores, man. So they all look the exact same. That would be like a podium from your exam. You had a circle and they're all little dots on the inside. They're exact same. So Laginella was the weird one that had all the circles, but some were teeny tiny, some were bigger. They almost look like sperm and egg. If you look at it, it's kind of what it looked like, but it's not. Those are spores. Those are different spores. So those are heterosporous. So you're going to have separate types of spores, or two different types of spores. All right, know the difference between fern sori, or what fern sori are, and what fern fiddleheads are. You don't know the difference, right? We're gonna go with that. All right, know the difference between what a strobilus is versus a microstrobilus versus a megastrobilus. So what's just a strobilus?
Cone.
Cone, right? And then the other one's differentiated, whether it's male or female, if they have separate ones. All right, knowing the difference between monoecious and dioecious. So what does monoecious mean? One house. What is dioecious?
Two houses.
So when you have one house, what does that mean? If you're monoecious for a plant, what does that mean?
Male, female cones on the same plant.
Male and female cones on one plant. What about dioecious?
That's a different plant.
We don't separate, right? We got male cones on male plant and female cones on female plant. All right, so know what is a gymnosperm seed. Know that what it is. It's the baby in the box with its food. So it's going to be the mature ovary. Y'all remember that? It contains the embryo, it's got nutrients, and it's surrounded by that lovely seed coat, right? That's what a gymnosperm seed is. And what does gymnosperm mean?
Naked seed.
Naked seed, right? Sequins are so sexy. Naked seed. All right, what is the male gametophyte of a gymnosperm?
Pollen grain.
Pollen grain, right? That's what y'all wrote today in the little boxes. So what is the female gametophyte of the gymnosperms?
Seed.
Two archegonia with what? With eggs. Make your IHOP order. Just remember, y'all, what did you study for IHOP? Two archegonia with eggs, smothered and covered with cheese. Alright, so know the plant life cycle. What's the name for the plant life cycle?
Alternation of generations.
Alternation of generations, or little cheat sheet. You still have to know that. You don't know that probably every exam will put it on there. This time it won't have a cheat sheet. You're gonna have to just know it. So, and here's another clue. If it's not written that way, let's say your boxes are written this way, and you just starting to freak out, what should you do? Turn your paper. You can write it on here and then flip it back and match up, because so many of y'all messed it up last time, and I'm like, just write on the paper. Didn't mean to make it sound that high, but it helped me today. Know what the different generations look like and what phyla they belong to, and maybe some representatives of that phyla. I'm going to give you an example. I have it listed out. It's the same ones that's on that chart. So Marchantia phyta is the first ones. So no, those are the liverworts. What does the gametophyte look like? What does the sporophyte look like, right? Y'all remember those? Gametophytes, just blah. And the sporophyte, what does it look like?
It's like they're combined.
When we have sticks, we get the female, we have the male, and once we combine underneath the female, we get the crazy puffy looking stuff. That's the sporophyte generation. All right, for Bryophyta, those are the mosses. So you remember we drew all those?
They have the little stick with the capsule.
Yeah, and they have all this stuff at the top, whether they're female, or they're male. And then this would be all the gametophyte generation. When sperm found female, then it comes up and does this. And what is this generation? Is that ringing bells now, hopefully? So that's what I'm talking about when I say know what's what. Anthoceratophyta, what are those?
Horn warts.
Those horny warts, right? Because they look like a penis. So you know exactly what the sporophyte generation looks like. Lycopodiophyta, that's things like Lycopodium. You saw that in lab. It's the ones that had, there was one that had 2 and one that had 3 of them together. They were in a jar. We didn't have them. They were preserved. And they kind of just looked like fuzzy. They're kind of brownish looking anyway. But at the tips, they have those strobili that are on there. So they were sitting in the water. So that's just to let you see the difference. So what would be the gametophyte generation?
Like the weedy part.
No. Because that's kind of a trick question, I guess, because they're kind of like ferns. It's going to be in the ground, you're not going to see it. So technically, this is all the sporophyte generation. So, but it does have these structures. Y'all remember? Strobili, right? Or strobilis if you're talking about one. So yeah, that's right. So I'm sorry, that was a trick question. I didn't mean it to be. I didn't think about it till after I said it. So the next one is monolophyta, and those are the ferns. So that one, if you saw this, and we're talking about ferns, what generation is that? That's the gametophyte. You remember when sperm and egg found each other, then you saw this weird thing growing out, and then eventually it looks like this. Well, maybe not like this. Maybe it does. Here, we'll give it some fiddleheads. It's got some roots, whatever. So this is already gone, and what is this generation, which started off teeny tiny right there? That whole thing is the sporophyte generation. All right, and then the other phyla, it just continues on. Cycadophyta or Cycadophyta, those are the cycads. So those are Sagopalm, it's a bad name. So just kind of know that that's in Cycophyta. Ginkgophyta, that's easy. There's literally one member. Who is it?
Ginkgo biloba.
Ginkgo biloba. It's literally the one, the cute little fan shapes to it. Cnidophyta, there's a few that are cnidophytes. It was Cnidum, Ephedra, and Welwitschia. I think they're the only ones. The weird one in the desert that comes out and that has the 2 leaves, that was Welwitschia. Coniferophyta, that's all of your conifers, your pine trees, your pines, your junipers. So many different ones are in that. And then the last thing I have is to make sure that you know the gymnosperm life cycle from your PowerPoint. That's the one that I pointed out to you that went from 2 to 1 all of a sudden. And I can, oh, it's still up here. I can pull it back up for you too in case you didn't see it. It is. Not that one. This the one. Yep. That was the one I was like, I don't know where it went, but it should have 2 zygotes, should have 2 embryos. It does up to the moment. So that's the one that was from today. Look at that. And that's it in a nutshell. That is it. I think there's 50 questions if I'm not mistaken. So 2 points each. And then when you're done that day, you're done. One day you're done. Yay. That sheet, make sure you sign it. I don't know, maybe it went around to everybody already, not sure. Did not. Whoever.